It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You could find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting just by emailing me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Very excited about our show today. We have Joe Exotic from that Netflix series Tiger King, and he's calling us from prison, from a prison payphone. Okay, so we're going to get right into this.
Yeah.
Joe Exotic, are you there?
Hey, I am. Glad to be here.
Hey, man, thank you so much. Remind the audience, who is Joe Exotic?
You know, I've never seen Netflix, so I don't know exactly what Netflix portrayed me to be. But, you know, I spent my entire life helping people, granting last wishes for sick little kids, feeding the homeless, all kinds of stuff. You know, Joe Exotic's a little extreme, but apparently I'm not as extreme as Netflix would like to portray me.
Yeah, they portray is very colorful guy. I don't think you came off looking too bad. Not at all. As a matter of fact, you have a lot of fans out there. I get a lot of mail. One thing I found very interesting, fascinating about you is that right out of high school, you became the chief of police?
Yes, sir. Leesville, Texas.
How'd that come about?
Well, you know, I graduated high school, and I actually had my own ambulance service there in Pilot Point, Texas, when I was 18 years old. And I graduated high school, and a friend of mine that I graduated with was the chief of police for Argyle, Texas, and I used to go ride with him at nights. And he was dating the daughter of the mayor of another town over here called Eastvale. And I went and applied for a job and interviewed in front of the city council one night, and they actually turned me down and told me that I was too young looking. They didn't think I could handle myself on the street. So I made them a deal, worked for free for 6 months to prove that I can handle myself and I can do the job. And I graduated, actually, the police academy as the youngest police chief in the state of Texas.
No, I would absolutely believe that. And how big was that town?
You know, at the time, it was only close to 16,000.
Oh, that's still a pretty good-sized town. Now, were you openly out of the closet?
Pretty much. I mean, my city council members knew, and my mayor knew.
Fascinating. What year was that?
Yeah. 1983.
Yeah, okay.
82 and 83.
Well, look at you, man. All right, so, Joe, you're calling us up here. We're calling you up from prison, right? Why don't you give us an idea? What's the official story? How did you wind up in prison? And then we'll give you a chance to tell us what you think really happened.
Okay, well, you know, they came at me. I actually walked away from the zoo June the 16th of 2018 because I just couldn't handle what was going on there anymore with Jeff and James and all of their criminal activities and what they were doing to female customers and everything else. So I actually walked away and gave them the entire zoo. And I went to Pensacola, Florida, rented a house, got a job washing dishes on the beach, and 3 months later, they arrested me. Giving them my zoo wasn't enough, so they concocted this murder-for-hire plot with Jeff's right-hand man, Alan Glover, and put me in prison for murder for hire. So that's why I'm here. But since then, you know, they've all turned around and did depositions under oath, admitting to perjury. Hell, Alan went one step further and took Netflix and my attorneys to the zoo and showed them where they hid a piano wire where they actually intended on killing me to start with. So, you know, it's going to be a long battle, but I'm innocent, and the evidence is there now. And the sad part is you know, the U.S. attorneys that prosecuted me knew they were lying, and now we have phone recordings and text messages to prove that.
So let's back up a bit. You said that you gave up your zoo. Describe how you got into this zoo business with these big cats and all that.
Well, me and my brother, GW, owned a pet store in Arlington, Texas for 16 years. And then he got killed in a traffic accident south of Dallas. And my mom and dad lived in Oklahoma, and he lived on the same property with his wife and kids, helping Dad with the racehorses. And my brother always swore up and down that my mom and dad would never go to a nursing home. So I moved, sold a pet store, moved to Oklahoma, and combined what money I made off the pet store with Mom and Dad's money that they got off of, my brother getting killed, which wasn't a lot. And we bought the property, and we started building this sanctuary in memory of my brother, just to do something good and keep my mom and dad busy, because all my dad done was he lived to die after my brother died. So we started building this sanctuary that just kind of blew up and turned into one of the world's largest privately owned zoos there was.
Now, you say zoo, though, but my impression was it was only big cats.
Oh, no, hell no. We had... I had 260 tigers, 37 lions, 41 hybrids. I had chimpanzees. I had everything. We had camels, zebras, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, parrots, big reptile center. Had my own television, online television show there from the zoo.
And am I understanding though that is a zoo a profitable business? Like, don't you need to have sponsors and people like donations and things?
Well, that's how we built it, Ed. Was we started it as a memorial park, in memory of my brother.
Gotcha.
And people around the world, that was the thing about Mom and Dad. It gave them something to do and something, other people to talk to that lost their kids or, lost a loved one. And people built, and, like a big zoo has, Kellogg's builds a big ape exhibit. Well, people around the world built the exhibits in memory of people that they've lost. So that's why we called it a living memorial park. And when I left the zoo, we had 152 living memorials.
Then how did this come about, this kind of controversy with Carol Baskin?
Okay, well, that all started back in 2006, somewhere around there. I was at the gas station in Oklahoma City getting gas, and the newspaper stand was there by the counter, and I was reading on the front page about this little crappy roadside zoo in Oklahoma. And the more I got to reading, it was about me, and it was written by Carol Baskin. And I had no idea who Carol Baskin was, so I went back to the zoo and I got on the internet and I searched Carol Baskin, and the first thing that come up was her husband was missing since 1997.
Okay.
That's where I went wrong. Okay, that's when the police chief kicked in. Okay, and I'm like, who is this lady talking bad about me that lives in Tampa, Florida, and her husband's missing, and they think that she fed him to the tigers? And that's honestly how everything started. Was the more I dug, the more I found out. She had 7 nonprofits. She was funneling money. She was notary fraud, and then she sues me to try and bankrupt me, to shut me up, and she couldn't do that for 11 years. So her and Jeff and James and a game warden concocted this murder for hire thing up because I fought the Big Cat Safety Act, because she introduced the Big Cat Safety Act, okay, to stop people from owning tigers and breeding and letting people pet cubs. And I fought that for 11 years. I went and testified in front of the House, the Senate, and everything. And she couldn't put me out of business by bankrupting me with lawyers, and she couldn't get the Big Cat Safety Act passed because Joe bucked it the whole way. So they worked with Netflix, and we have the evidence now, okay, and they're all online. You might have listened to them, and you might not have, where Eric Good, the producer of Tiger King, actually paid all of the witnesses during my trial and up to my trial to keep the narrative going of this murder for hire, and big cats are dangerous, and Joe's this crazy guy that's got 260 tigers. And they put me in jail, and then as soon as they get me in jail, they nickname the Big Cat Safety Act the Tiger King bill. And the whole world watches Tiger King and the show that they make it out of, and then they pass it, and President Biden signed it into law. So that's why I consider myself a political prisoner. Well,
let me ask you this, Joe, because clearly you're a very savvy guy, okay, and brilliant guy in a lot of ways. And even a guy who's sitting in prison right now facing a long stretch. You got this big empire. You're running for president. You got this website. You got a business going. They're like, nothing stops you, man. So my question for you is, Joe Exotic, sharp guy, during this Netflix filming, you didn't see the writing on the wall that, hey, man, I'm being set up?
Okay, well, first of all, Ed, I didn't film for Netflix. Okay, I did two scenes, and it was just supposed to be about captive tigers. Okay, I reincarnated, I redid Travis's where we scattered his ashes. Okay, and then there was one scene in a hotel that I was talking about how me and Travis met. That's the only two things I did for Netflix. Everything else was my footage that I had for my TV show that we were filming that my husband, when I got arrested, sold to Netflix and Royal Good Production. And no, I didn't have a clue that they were filming and what was going on, because I left in June of 2018, and that's when they ramped up all of the filming, was between June and my trial.
You know, that's fascinating, because I only watched it once. I didn't watch the first season until I watched the second season, okay? And my impression was that you were there the whole time that you were filming. They put that together. Yeah.
No.
I wonder how many people are like me.
Everybody in prison asks me that, and every time I do an interview, somebody asks me that. Well, how much did you make off of Netflix? I didn't make a dime.
Wow.
Because I didn't film for Netflix. Dylan, my legal husband at the time, sold everything to Eric Good. Okay, and then when I filed for a divorce, and keep in mind, this is a guy that had nothing, homeless, living on an air mattress at a friend's house, covered in syphilis, addicted to cocaine and Xanax. And when I filed for divorce, he had $2.6 million worth of assets.
From the Netflix deal?
Off of the Netflix deal. And selling my clothes to that museum in Las Vegas.
Okay. Oh, man. Okay. You don't seem bitter, though, you know?
I was the first couple years of this, but, Ed, I've fought cancer in here once already.
Yeah.
And I'm going through my second battle, and I've finally got some decent lawyers. I have all the evidence it takes to get me out of here. I don't have time to be bitter. I believe in karma, and karma is going to come, and it's going to collect a bunch of them because, Eric, the guy that I put through rehab, I gave him so many chances. I kept him at the zoo and everything else, and he, of all people, turned on me after this was all done for money and fame and Netflix and everything else, and testified against me at my trial. And they, unfortunately, may rest in peace, they found him dead in an apartment in New York. One of the secretaries is now deceased. Karma will clean him up.
Eric is your ex-husband?
No, Eric was the long-haired dude that took care of the cats.
Gotcha. And one question the audience was asking me about you is the cancer. I didn't even know you had cancer. So how you holding up with all of that?
Well, fighting cancer in Butner in North Carolina for a year, locked behind a door in solitary confinement, puking from radiation and chemo and everything by yourself is tough. I barely made it, and if it wouldn't have been for Seth on the phone every day, answering and coaching me through it, I probably would not have made it, but made it. And now I'm waiting on biopsies of my lungs because they think I've got cancer in my left lung.
And did you smoke?
For 40 years.
Okay, that'll do it. Yeah. And Seth is your new partner.
Pardon?
Seth is your new partner now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But he's on the outside.
He is out there in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Yes, sir. We get along great.
Okay, God bless you, man.
He's super, super, super supportive.
One more thing, too. They always say, the old expression is, a guy who can get along good on the outside, a guy who's a success on the outside will always get along good if they throw him in prison. You're making that okay in there?
Yeah, I get along with everybody. Now, September will be almost 7 years that I've been locked up and not had a problem ever with an inmate. And let me tell you, I've been with some pretty rough people. in Butner when I was going through cancer. I was in a cell next to the Unabomber.
Wow.
And when I was in Oklahoma for the first 2 years, I spent some time with one of the head people with the Sinaloa cartel, Chino Anthrax, which has been he got out of prison and they killed him since then. But no, I get along with everyone. My money's good, my word is good, and I stay in my lane.
Yeah, and you just think you must have such a bullseye on you for being so famous,
Well, and actually that kind of helps me out a little bit because everybody wants an autograph sent to their wife, girlfriend, or mom, or something like that. So that actually helps me.
Now, someone mentioned that with Robert Durst. You were in there with Robert Durst?
I did not.
No? Okay. Someone said asking about Durst. Nothing about that?
Durst.
No. Okay. Okay, one question too a lot of people are asking about the allegations of animal neglect and animal abuse. What do you have to respond to that?
And Ed, I get mad every time I see a news article come out because everybody says that I'm in here for murder for hire and 17 animal abuse charges. I have never in my life, including now, been accused of animal abuse by any law enforcement agency in the world. Carol calls letting you pet a baby tiger abuse, and so she put that animal abuse target on me because on her website I was always her most wanted for animal abuse. Mm-hmm. But as far as the general public, the people that go to my YouTube channel and watch the raw videos of me working with my animals knows that, hell, I did CPR on tigers, I did CPR on chimps, I did CPR on armadillos. If you're going to abuse a tiger especially, you're not going to walk in a cage and lay down on the ground and love on 20 of them at a time because they wouldn't put up with it. And I had a gift working with big cats. God gave me a gift because I never got hurt.
But you're saying it's factual that you have never been charged with animal abuse?
Never been accused of it by a game warden, the USDA, or anyone. You can pull every USDA inspection, and they have never accused me of animal abuse. Now, if you pull the lawsuits between the USDA and Jeff Lowe and PETA and Jeff Lowe, yeah, you want to see some real animal abuse.
Now, Jeff Lowe, he's that fellow from Las Vegas who was like a kind of a swinger type guy. That's the guy we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
How'd you get mixed up with him?
That was probably my biggest mistake in my life. He was in Beaufort, South Carolina, and they run him out of town there, so he went to Colorado Springs. And I got a phone call one day asking me if I would come out there, if he would pay for my flight and everything, if I would come out there and look at a sanctuary that he wanted to buy, and it was Serenity Springs Sanctuary. So I went out there, and he put on a hell of a show. He had this great big mansion, indoor swimming pool in the house, a Ferrari in the driveway, a Hummer, flashing money and everything around. And I went and looked at the sanctuary, and I told him, I said, man, you're going to spend a lot of money fixing it up. It's got a bad name, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's going to be tough to bring it back up and make any money on it. And I left. Me and Travis left. So we came back home, and I got another phone call, and he said, well, can I fly you out here for a Halloween party and talk to you? He says, would you like to sell your zoo? And I said, no, I have no interest in selling my zoo, but, I would be interested in an investor. So me and Travis flew back out there Halloween of 2017 and talked to him, and he had agreed to put $300,000 into the zoo to get it to the next level so we can build some new exhibits and a couple attractions and stuff to draw more people in. But he wanted his name on the property with my mom and dad, okay, and as a guarantee that he would invest $300,000. Well, my mom and dad did a quick claim deed, put his name on there, and a week later, he's in jail out in Colorado because he strangled and beat up his wife, and that's his ex-wife, not the wife he has now.
Right.
Okay, and that's the first time I ever heard about Lauren. Okay, Lauren calls me and says, Jeff's in jail. Do you have $10,000 so I can bail him out? I'm like, hell no, I ain't got $10,000. I said, that's why we're letting Jeff invest in a property. I said, doesn't Jeff have $10,000? Come to find out, the house was rented, the car was behind payments, the Hummer was behind payments. The man had nothing. But his name was already on my zoo. So he moves to Oklahoma and lives in my house, him and Lauren, with me and Travis. And that within 2 months, I had my fill. In March of 2018, I went to the Take Back the Conversation convention down in Florida, Clearwater, Florida. And I came back and I told Rinky and Jeff, I said, I got to quit. I can't do this because Jeff is drugging girls and bringing them to the zoo and drugging them and having sex with them while they're unconscious. And him and James are sitting there in the office all day long running fake credit cards on Wayfair and Bowflex and Care Credit. And, dude, it was just a mess. And I told him in 2018, March of 2016, and told him, I said, I can't do this. So from 2016 to 2018, it just got worse and worse and worse. And the criminal enterprise got bigger and bigger. And then they lured this girl from Las Vegas on Facebook to come to the zoo. They paid for the airplane ticket and everything, come to the zoo. And they go to Oklahoma and pick her up. All right? And
all this time he's out on bail.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the total bail? It was 10,000, 10%, or what was the total bail?
It was 10,000, 10%.
Okay, so $100,000 bail.
Okay.
Okay.
So they get this. They go to the airport to pick up this girl, and it turns out to be an old Asian lady doing the same thing they're doing. Okay. And her name was Mimi. They get her to the zoo, and Jeff and Lauren are mad because they're stuck with this old Asian lady for 3 days, all right? So the first night, I don't know if they drug her or if she just fell asleep and they went through her suitcase, but they went through her suitcase, and the next morning, Jeff comes to the office with a book, and it had at least 75 young Asian girls' pictures in this book, this notebook, with the measurements of their boobs and how much they weigh and everything, okay? Come to find out, she's sex trafficking in Las Vegas. These young girls from Thailand.
Right.
And Jeff and Lauren are like, they hit the gold mine, okay? They were so excited. And this lady wakes up and she comes up to the office that morning, and Jeff stands on the porch in front of all of us and says, look, you're either going to cut me in or I'm going to turn you in. And she cut him in. She made a deal with him. And Jeff had what he called the Neon Jungle in a mall in Oklahoma City at that time. And he was so excited, him and Lauren, that they took that lady and they went to Las Vegas. And Alan and Saf had to go close the Neon Jungle and in the middle of the night, so the mall didn't know they were moving out because Jeff and Lauren and Mimi went to Las Vegas to run the sex trafficking ring. And that's where all of the fake driver's licenses and stuff came in, because James was getting fake driver's licenses with his picture but somebody else's name. And that's how they were signing the leases in Las Vegas, so nobody could track it to James or Jeff because they were all fake names and fake IDs. And it just kept going on and on and on until it just got so out of hand. With Alan at the zoo telling Jeff every move I made. I started moving animals off the zoo. I even called PETA myself, Ed. I called Brittany Pete with PETA for help. And I've got emails of where I was trying to sell the zoo to PETA and Carol to wipe off my $1 million judgment she had on me. All right? And I've got those emails to prove it. And So PETA helped me move over 80 big cats, some bears and some monkeys and everything else. Well, Alan kept calling Jeff and saying, hey, Joe's moving all these animals off the zoo. And Jeff started getting pissed off and throwing his threats around and everything else, to where in June I had PETA send the Chimp Haven people from Florida up to get the chimps. PETA came and sent people to help me get all of my bears and everything. I moved everything I could off the zoo by June the 16th. And come June the 16th, Jeff and Lauren were there and caused so many problems that me and Rinky and our vet all left the zoo at one time. And I never stepped foot back on it, ever.
All this stuff about the sex trafficking, was any of that on Netflix? No, right?
No, because Eric Good was paying Jeff and James in order to keep. Okay, if you know Eric Good and Rebecca Chatlin, okay, they're really big animal rights people, and they are so in bed with PETA, it's crazy. They're like best friends with Brittany Pete. That's how I even met Brittany Pete, was through them years ago. All right, so the whole thing was about putting Joe in jail and making it look like this murder for hire so they could pass the Big Cat Safety Act. And now, unfortunately, 6 years later, Jeff and James and Lauren and Alan all turned over their cell phones to my lawyer, John Phillips. And the text messages and the voicemail messages, we have over 416 phone recordings of them talking to Agent Bryant, the federal agent, how to lie under oath and how to make this all work. And I'm still sitting in prison because I have to wait for my appeal. I have to wait for the judges to answer. Yeah, it's taken a long time.
But at this point, Jeff is on your side. He's cooperating with you. Okay,
well, what had happened was, okay, they got me in jail. Jeff got the zoo all by himself.
Right.
Okay. Then Carol starts suing Jeff. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So Carol ends up kicking Jeff off the zoo, and then he goes to Thackerville, Oklahoma, and starts to build this new zoo called the Tiger King Zoo. Okay. Well, there's videos online and everything else where Carol and Howard would fly a drone over his place to spy on him, okay? And them and PETA and the USDA had the feds raid his zoo twice and confiscate all of his animals. Well, he had ran into this old school teacher, this lady, that he found out she had a $250,000 savings account. And he got her to buy the property for this new zoo and spend all of her money building this zoo with him. Okay, well, it got so bad after the feds confiscated all the animals and everything else that she literally had to have him evicted with a court order off the property. Okay, so now James and Jeff and Lauren are off at the feds because they turned on them. Okay, they thought that they were going to be buddy because they helped put Joe in prison and close Joe down.
Right.
Well, they turned on him. Okay, so they all got mad and they thought that they were going to be the heroes to get back in the news and everything else, because this was already 2 years after Tiger King came out, so their name had pretty much wore off, So they give my attorney, John Phillips, all their phones and hard drives with 416 phone recordings. And they had deleted everything off of the front of the phones, okay? But they didn't go in the back side and delete everything out of the cache file.
Sure.
All right? So John Phillips was able to retrieve everything off of their phones. And that's where, if you get on JoeExoticOfficial.com or Tiger Tales on YouTube, where John Phillips has everything is on Tiger Tales on YouTube. Okay, you'll hear where Jeff and Lauren record each other when they're fighting, admitting to raping girls.
Wow.
And how Jeff forces Lauren to take drugs, to have sex with other guys while he watches. It's pretty sick.
Well, what are they off doing right now? How are they making a living and surviving today?
Well, apparently they're hiding out in Mexico somewhere.
Gotcha.
Because John Phillips turned this all over to the FBI with the fake credit cards and the fake IDs. And, man, there was so much stuff on those phones, probably 30 fake Social Security cards.
Right, but they're not actually cooperating witnesses for you. How does John Phillips think he's going to get that evidence into court?
Well, they were cooperating,
right?
And they did video depositions and admitted to everything and spilled their beans. And then because John Phillips couldn't legally represent them because they were witnesses against me, now they're mad again because John Phillips has exposed all of this evidence, and they're on the run.
Joe, what's the theory of the prosecution of this murder plot that got you in prison? What is their theory? What are they saying you did?
Okay, well, they're saying that I gave Alan Glover $3,000 to travel to Florida to kill Carol. Okay. First of all, you can't take a vacation to Florida for $3,000, okay? Let alone kill somebody. All right, but they had it very, very well planned out, and we have phone recordings now of my very own brother helping them plan this out.
Really?
From the beginning. Okay, so how they did it was they had Alan use his cell phone to call Carol's cell phone to leave a message that I had gave him money and to kill her. And that's what made it interstate commerce, was the cell phones crossing state lines.
Gotcha, because I always wondered, how did this become a federal case? That now I understand, okay.
That's how they got it across state lines, okay? And then they got Alan to testify that he literally traveled to Florida when he really didn't, okay? And then they had testified that I took his cell phone and mailed it to Jeff out in Vegas so Jeff could turn it on and it would show that Alan was in Vegas when he really wasn't.
Gotcha.
So that's how they got me for interstate commerce to make it federal, was it was all cell phones across state lines. But now we have the cell phones, and we can prove that, A, they never went across state lines, B, the federal agent is the one who had Alan make that very first phone call in order to make it federal. And keep in mind, the federal agent that prosecuted me was a game warden, a federal game warden.
Yeah,
so
you'd have a much better chance in court if it was a state court.
I would be.
You'd be out by now.
I'd have been home. Yeah, I'd have probably only got 3 or 5 years.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you know Jim Rathman?
No, I don't think I did. What's the story?
Yeah, he is an ex-Secret Service agent that is a private investigator now, and he worked with John Phillips, and they even got FBI reports where the FBI told the game warden that no, there's no way this could have happened because the people that you say Joe got the money from was in Ohio at a repair shop that day. And I mean, it's crazy, Ed, the evidence that we have that the prosecutors took part in making this crime a crime.
Yeah.
And that was part of my appeal, was prosecutorial misconduct, perjury, and then Brady violations and Neptune violations. Yeah, there's over 1,000 exhibits of new evidence.
Is there some other motive why they would want to go after you so seriously and so?
I was the largest cat breeder in the United States. I supplied every USDA license, and when I say that, every circus, every petting zoo, every sanctuary that let people pet baby tigers, I was the guy. And in order to shut it down for the Big Cat Safety Act, they had to shut me down.
Now, what about the death of Carol Baskin's husband? Do you still believe that's suspicious?
Look, I investigated that since 2006 to 2018. I had his original power of attorney. I had his protection orders that he filed against her. I am the only one that has her original diary. Okay, nobody has ever asked me for her original diary. I have her original diary, and you will never convince me that she didn't kill him.
What about this theory that he's still alive down in South America or something like that? He took off on a plane. What do you think of that?
No, it's absolutely fake. There's no plane missing. He owned his own planes. Okay, why would you leave all your millions? Look, he hated her, okay? Why would you leave all your millions to a lady that you can't stand and then not take your own plane because you don't spend your money because you're a hoarder to take your own plane to Costa Rica where your property is? There was no plane missing. There was no flight plan scheduled. The man is a tiger turd. Okay, that's just the way it is. And what those tigers didn't eat is it's not in the septic tank. It's under the septic tank. And that's why she will never sell that property while she's alive.
Is her big cat rescue place, is that still in operation?
She moved all of her big cats off. It's closed to the public. She put all of her big cats at a place called Turpentine Creek in Arkansas. So she has no overhead now. All she has is bobcats, and she's still raising money to save big cats, but she has no big cats to save.
Okay. All right. Now, what about now you're running for president?
Yes, sir.
And is this a serious campaign?
Yes, sir. I have a website. I am on the Federal Election Commission website. I turn in my quarterly reports for the money that I raise. Yes, I'm in this all hands and feet.
And what is your platform?
I have a website called joeexotic2024.com, and my entire platform's there. I have probably the best border policy you could ask for. I believe in pro-choice. I believe in the Second Amendment. It's time that the government gets out of our lives. But like, Ed, to give you just an example about the border policy, we got to close the border, but we can still let people in, okay? When I ran for president against Donald Trump in 2016 as an independent, I flew to Belize to see how a third world country did this, okay? And then when you get off the plane in Belize, you have to pay them $37.50 for not being a citizen. And then every 30 days you're there, you got to pay them $50, okay? But you can stay there as long as you want. But you got to pay them $50 every 30 days. So I went over to Mexico and spent 2 days over there talking to everybody I could talk to and passed out, campaign stuff. And I asked every Mexican that I could talk to, would you come to America and pay $50 per member of your family if you could work, pay taxes, and get what we would call a non-citizen tax number, just like a Social Security number, so that way we could track whether or not you're making your $50 payments. And that way you could work without worrying about being deported while you're becoming a citizen. So I would give you 5 years to become a citizen, and you could work those 5 years, live in America, but you got to pay $50 a month. Because the citizens in America gave up their lives, their limbs, their family members got killed fighting for this country to be free. So $50 a month is not a lot to ask for somebody to come here and enjoy the freedom. And every Hispanic person I talked to said they would be happy to pay $50 a month. So why are we not collecting 17 million people's $50 a month? We could offer free health care.
That would be nice. Now, would you consider yourself like a conservative, a patriot? How would you describe yourself?
I'm just in the middle. I'm running as an unaffiliated because I ran as a libertarian when I ran for governor, and those people are just as crazy as the left and the right. Libertarians think that you should be able to own any weapon that the U.S. military owns. Well, look, we just can't do that, okay? I'm going to let you have a handgun and a rifle, okay, but you're not going to get a bazooka and some grenades. That's just like I believe that, you have the choice to have an abortion, okay, but let's don't abuse it, okay? If you have 3 of them, then it's time to stop, okay? But if you have one or an accident or something, and you have an abortion, sure, that's fine, but let's just don't slaughter a bunch of unborn kids because you're too lazy to put a condom on or take birth control. Okay, so there's got to be a happy medium there for all of us, because we can't have 330 million people in this country and live by one Bible or one set of rules, because it's never going to work that way.
Now, Joe Exotic, did you have any brushes with the law before this big case that threw you in prison?
I've never even had a speeding ticket in 55 years. I was 55 years old when I got arrested. Gotcha. Never a speeding ticket.
Has your experience with the criminal justice system in America and the prison system especially, has that changed your outlook on the world?
I would not believe this if you'd have told me on the outside. I'd have called you a liar. I had, and it's a shame that I did. I had the same mental attitude that everybody out in the free world has now. Is you're in prison, you deserve it. Okay, look, there's so much mold and algae in here, and the roofs leak. And keep in mind, I'm in a medical center. Okay, the roofs leak. There's holes in the roof. There's part of the roof missing. The food is expired by up to a year that they make you eat. And people are living like rats. I mean, seriously, worse than rats. And for the billions and billions of dollars that America spends on their prison system, the taxpayers are getting robbed. This is basically, there's so many people in here, Ed, on conspiracy charges and of ghost dope. And just to explain to you what ghost dope is if you have a text message on your phone that you bought an 8-ball from somebody, okay, and the government finds that text message, well, they're going to go back and find a witness and say, oh, well, he bought an 8-ball from me every 2 weeks for 3 years. Well, they're going to charge you for the weight of that 8-ball every 2 weeks for 3 years, whether you had any drugs on you when they arrested you or not. Okay, and that's called relevant conduct and conspiracy. So most of the people that are in here are on conspiracy charges for drugs that they never even got caught with drugs.
And a lot of those, too, are people that they're trying to work up their own case, and they're an informant, and they're setting up other people.
Do what?
A lot of those cases you're talking about are people that got their own case. They're trying to work off their own case. They become an informant, and they're setting up their old buddies, like you said, with these ghost cases.
Exactly. The same thing as Donald Trump went through right now.
One question I got for you, okay? What's your perspective now on Trump? Here you got 2 political candidates in the same race, and they're both convicted felons.
Okay. Look, I voted for Trump. I've run against Trump. I'm still running against Trump. I have nothing personal against the man. I actually think he made a good president. But what is happening to him right now is probably the best thing that could happen to our justice system, because now the entire world is watching how corrupt this is. And the sad part, though, Ed, is you have every Republican now on the news, on the Internet, on every talk show saying that it's rigged, how bad the corrupt system is. But not one of them has admitted to, well, they helped build it, okay, for years. It's been weaponized against American citizens that can't afford $60 million worth of lawyers. And you don't hear one coming up with a solution on how to fix it. It's just poor Trump, poor Trump, poor Trump. Now, tomorrow, we're going to see if it's still the fair justice system that the Democrats all think it is, or we're going to see how they weaponize it against Hunter Biden.
That's another one, yeah.
Yeah. But, Trump's on the Internet, $52.8 million raised since he's been convicted. there's a lot of people out there that like Trump, but they're going to throw him in jail.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
You can already see it on the news. They've got his ex-lawyers, his ex-people that were in the White House, all saying that they hope this judge puts him in jail. And all they're doing is making this judge's head bigger and bigger and bigger. And if they really want to screw him over for this election, they'll put him in Rikers for 6 months.
I would think it would be house arrest or something like that, but definitely, I think he does qualify for jail time. If you look at he didn't plead guilty. He made him go to trial. His accessories to this case, they all did jail time. Cohen did jail time. Weisselberg did jail time. Pecker had all kinds of restrictions on Pecker. He's not allowed to do any political stories in the Inquirer anymore. So there's all kind of, he made a deal. So it's hard to see how they could justify not giving him time.
It'll tell the American people just how fair this system really is.
Yeah. Now, I rewatched some Tiger King last night. Okay, and I got to apologize to you, Joe. Man, I really do. I did an interview with your campaign manager, that fellow there, Spider Monkey, right? And I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Okay. Michael.
Right.
Robinson.
Right,
yes.
And I really enjoyed that interview, and I kind of did it kind of lightheartedly, and even you, when I first met you on the phone the other day, I kind of thought, the guy probably did something. But I got to tell you, man, rewatching Tiger King with a new perspective after talking to you, it's deceptive, man. It is just deceptive. It's a smear job on you from start to finish.
Yeah, they did, and that's why I have my people putting the original videos of some of that stuff on Rumble,
right?
Because YouTube won't let me put it up because some of it is so graphic. But that's just like, again, I have not watched Tiger King, but everybody sends me letters saying they think it's funny how I put that medical jacket on while I was saving Seth, because her arm got tore off. I put the raw video up on Rumble, and you never see me in a jacket, okay, because I was concentrating on saving that girl's life. And I didn't put the jacket on until the next day when I did the press conference.
Gotcha.
But they made me look like I stopped in the middle of saving her life, apparently, and put an EMT jacket on. And it's just stuff like that if they'd have told the whole story, the entire world would be behind me.
Well, not only that, too, but then they lump you in with all these other people with all their shenanigans going on and their cults and sex cults, whatever's going on with these other people, man. Right. It's just a smear job. It was a smear job from beginning to end.
And after you know the players and you know the Big Cat Safety Act and you know their agenda, then when you watch it, you see the agenda, don't you?
Right. Oh, no. Yeah. I kind of fell asleep, okay? A couple of glasses of wine last night. I fell asleep throughout the show. But, I definitely opened up my eyes from the first time I watched it. Because I've had a couple other guests on the show, too. If you watch that Octopus Murders on Netflix, the Danny Castellaro story, I had the center of that story on the show, too. And he was smeared, too, as well. And then also to Maury Terry, who was smeared by Netflix as well.
Yeah, I have these new lawyers, and I have them going in the direction of, at some point, we're going to file a civil suit against Royal Good Productions and Netflix for conspiracy to false imprison me.
Yeah. Now, what about this, though? Now, because that was a hot commodity, okay? Tiger King 1, then part 2 seasons, right? Has anybody come to you and said, hey, Joe Exotic, we want to do a documentary with you to give your version of events?
We're actually already in the process of filming that. We've got some pretty good people behind us as far as investors, and my old film crew that worked at the zoo are the ones filming now. They went to Arkansas and filmed with Seth, and they went to Kansas and filmed with a couple people. They went to New Mexico and filmed already with a couple people. But yeah, they're already filming the return of the Tiger King.
Now,
but we haven't sold it to anybody yet because I want to make sure it's the truth about what happened before I got put in prison, what happened in prison, and at least a couple months out of prison.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be nothing but the truth.
It would be a hot property, man. That's for sure. Because the first one did so well. Yeah.
It would be worth millions.
Now, what about this? Well, don't forget your buddy at Opperman, okay? You're breaking your minutes over there, bro. What about now? What can people do if people hear this show and they wake up and say, "Oh my God, Ed, just like you, I thought this was a whole joke." What can people do to support you?
Ed, I've never been one to ask or beg for money because I've always worked my ass off to take care of myself. I have the website joeexoticofficial.com. There's 3 different ways that people can donate to help me with these new lawyers because they're going to cost me close to $150,000. There's Vimeo, Cash App, and Facebook at the top that they can donate to. But what I really want the world to know is the truth, and I'm innocent. So, if you can't afford to donate a buck or $5, at least go to joeexoticofficial.com and look at the evidence link and watch the videos of how these people admitted to perjury and the evidence and how they had a plot to kill me. Because that's what's going to get me out of here is the more people that spread that evidence link around and the more people that we educate that the Department of Justice really had a bad agenda to put me in here to pass that stupid Big Cat Safety Act, the faster I'm going to get home.
And who do you think was behind all that? That game warden? You think it was that area?
I have no doubt that it was Agent Bryant, the game warden, Carol Baskin. And I don't know if you've seen my social media, but I'll send you the link to it. Vice President Kamala Harris, bragged on her Twitter that she co-sponsored the Big Cat Safety Act, and she wanted everybody to watch Tiger King.
Big money,
I will have my people get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
It's crazy how the Vice President of the United States wanted people to watch the Big Cat or the Tiger King to see how crazy I am because she co-sponsored the Big Cat Safety Act.
Well, what about that petition? Is that going anywhere?
We have a brand new petition on that same website,
right.
And the reason why we got a new one out there is because everything's about control and people wanting to be famous, and my old power of attorney hijacked that petition, so I cannot get to it. I can't use it, or whatever. So I got to start over again. My whole life since I've been arrested has been about starting over.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I'm very impressed. You have so much determination and motive to keep moving forward. Like you never think of giving up.
Oh, the first 2 years when they kept me in solitary confinement for 2 years and 8 months, I would have killed myself 100 times if I could have. But being in solitary, you're very limited to what you can do. I overdosed a couple times because I kept my medicine every day until I had over 100 pills. But what motivates me right now is I'm innocent. I want to go home to Seth and his son, but what really motivates me is how many people I've met in here, Ed, that are good people, okay? And they're serving 15 to 30-year sentences for conspiracy to distribute drugs when they never even got caught with drugs. And there's the taxpayers are just paying billions and billions of dollars to people that really could go home. And as bad as we want to close the border and take care of all that stuff too, some of the people that actually have my back in here and make sure that I'm okay and I'm safe are immigrants that have lived in America for 20 to 24 years. They came here when they were 3 years old, and they've been working citizens for 24 years, and now they're being deported after they served 4 years in prison.
Yeah, one of the craziest things I saw when Trump was doing those big deportations, they went to 7-Eleven. They went and they deported like 200 people working at 7-Elevens. These poor people, they know what kind of cigarettes you buy. They know what kind of beer you buy. You see the same guy every morning. Hey, how are you? And that's the guy they target to get out of the country.
And that's the sad part, because most of these people that have been in here in America for 20 and 30 years, God, they own houses,
right.
They've got jobs, they have grandkids, and now they're being deported instead of given a chance to stay here, just like the ones that are coming across the border and getting free hotel rooms.
Now, Joe, you mentioned before that there was a plot to kill you. What was that?
Okay, Alan, and this shocked me too, and apparently it's on the second season of Tiger King, when Alan Glover did his deposition to John Phillips. He admitted to the attorneys under oath that him and Jeff Lowe had a plot to actually kill me if put me in prison didn't work, because they wanted the zoo that bad. And Jeff Lowe was the beneficiary on my $1 million life insurance policy because the zoo was paying the payments. And they had a piano wire that they were going to stretch across the road where I ride my four-wheeler to go open the zoo every morning to try and decapitate me, you know?
Right.
But hell, he even took him and showed him where he hid the wire, and John Phillips actually has that actual wire now. And I still can't believe that even as bad of a president as everybody thinks President Biden is, I can't believe that he hasn't made this right to kind of get the popularity of everybody that did watch Tiger King.
You're definitely a popular guy. Everybody I've mentioned to it, says, I'm interviewing Joe Exotic. Everybody's excited to hear the show, you know.
Isn't that crazy? Every inmate in here's family when they call them and say, I'm in there with Tiger King, and everybody wants an autograph. It's crazy.
Well, even my daughter was saying that too.
It's crazy that I'm actually still in prison.
Yeah. So, Joe, we only got a couple of minutes left. What do you want to leave us with?
Okay. You know what? Just everybody that hears your interview here, just keep in mind that there's only 330 million people in America, and there's over 2 million people in jail right now. So you have a 1 in 230 chance of being arrested with this system that we have right now and put in prison. So we have to fix it, not just for me, for everybody that is not getting a fair deal. The Constitution says that you have the right to a fair trial, and as soon as I asked for that right to a fair trial, I started with only one indictment. Then they re-indicted me with 20 more charges to punish me for asking to go to a trial. So get on joeexoticofficial.com, look at the evidence, show it to every friend that you have, put it on social media, and just be my voice. Because as soon as I get out of here, my goal is to testify in front of Congress and explain just how corrupt it is in here, because there is more drugs in federal prison than I ever saw on the street. The guards are selling an ounce of meth for $7,000 an ounce.
Yeah.
So we're not helping anyone. All we're doing is costing you, the taxpayers, to keep people in jail longer, to become drug addicts.
Yeah, and people need to understand all that contraband comes in from the guards. There's no other this other talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now they're over 8,000 employees short, and you know, Colette Peters, the director of the BOP, admits that the system is so bad, and it was so corrupt in Atlanta, Georgia, they actually had to close the prison because they couldn't find any help that would be honest.
Yeah, there's no other reason to get that job. There's no other reason to take that job. And by the way, too, you talk about the numbers, how there's like 1% is in prison. I think it comes up to like 20% people that have been arrested, they're on parole, probation, or some kind of court-ordered supervision.
That's not counting the people that have got out of prison, people waiting to come to prison. And hell no. You would be up in the 20 millions or 30 millions of people that have been through this system and lost many years of their lives for nothing.
Yeah, your odds of sitting at the defense table are hugely outweigh any chance that the government and the cops are going to take up your cause and arrest somebody that's done bad to you, and then you're on the side of the prosecution.
Right. And Ed, if I would have done something wrong, I would have learned my lesson in a year or two. I didn't need 21 years, because if you're going to be in here for over 5 years, in my opinion, you're going to leave here worse than you ever came.
Joe, I agree with everything you're saying, brother. Joe Exotic, JoeExoticOfficial.com. That's the best website to go to get the merch and support him and get to watch the videos. And Joe, anything comes up, give me a call. We'll put you right back on the air, okay?
I'll do it, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
No, Joe, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Thank you.
All right, buddy.
Good night.